We just saw this here with Christine Brennan. Christine Brennan, obviously a journalist, nearly 3 days after allegations of racist comments in the Sky Fever game, I'm being told the WNBA has no timeline for completion.
The basketball world is in chaos after explosive claims surfaced against the WNBA. A respected sports reporter just dropped a bombshell, revealing what looks like an organized effort to sabotage Caitlin Clark from within the league itself. Top WNBA officials are now in crisis mode after leaked internal messages point to a pattern of bias aimed at shutting down the rising star. Has the league's obsession with managing Caitlin Clark's spotlight backfired in the worst possible way? If you believe it's time for real accountability, drop a comment below. We need new referees.
Are they, like, my only logic is that they are hoping that something bad happens during this game tonight so that they can say, well, look, this has happened. This is, I mean, we're reporting this whole fan base and something happened tonight.
The WNBA is in full crisis mode, and honestly, they've got no one to blame but themselves. This isn't some rumor from a random account with a basketball emoji and 10 followers on social media. We're talking about a verified, respected journalist with real access and league sources, and what they've uncovered, a disturbing pattern that points to a calculated push from within the WNBA to downplay Caitlin Clark's influence on the game.
First of all, again, the Chicago, if this was about something other than this, the Chicago Sky coach made it clear there was no issues in Indiana while he was working there, and he didn't hear anything in the game, and it's all because of stuff on Twitter.
Let's call it what it is. One of the biggest self-inflicted disasters we've seen from a pro sports league in years. After decades of struggling for national spotlight, the WNBA finally lands a superstar in Caitlin Clark, who's drawing record-breaking viewership, and what do? They start tearing down the very player fueling their rise.
You need to announce that you had a review in the first place, though. That's just my opinion. There was no need to go out there and announce that you were reviewing anything, because, well, there's just no need. Trying to figure out a world where basically everything is recorded, no sound or video, because nothing happened. And again, I'll always say, yes, some person could have said something in the crowd, but as a crowd, as a whole, as a totality of a crowd.
This whole firestorm kicked off with the now infamous WNBA investigation into alleged racist remarks during the Indiana Fever versus Chicago Sky game. Yes, that game, where Caitlin Clark notched a historic triple-double and the Fever shattered 11 records in a dominant 35-point blowout. But instead of spotlighting one of the greatest single-game performances in league history, the WNBA launched an official investigation based on, wait for it, Twitter posts. Not footage, not audio, not even first-hand witness statements, just tweets. And now, veteran USA Today journalist Christine Brennan has dropped a bombshell that takes this story to a whole new level. According to Brennan's sources, the investigation had little to do with protecting players. Instead, it was all about redirecting attention away from Clark's rising star power. In a leaked internal memo from the WNBA front office, a senior executive allegedly wrote, "Need to find balance in coverage. Double C momentum becoming problematic for league narrative." Yes, you heard that right. Clark's popularity was literally described as problematic for the league. Imagine if the NBA said LeBron James was too popular. It's absurd, and yet, here we are. But Brennan didn't stop there. She uncovered an internal messaging strategy created weeks before the Fever Sky matchup, designed to ensure balanced coverage of WNBA players. Sounds harmless, right? Until you realize the document specifically laid out ways to limit Clark-centered media stories, even if her on-court performance demanded attention. This revelation puts everything into perspective: the nitpicking over Clark's defense, the media obsession with her facial expressions, the downplaying of record-breaking milestones. It's no accident. It's part of a calculated effort from within the league itself. Now, let's circle back to the so-called investigation. 3 days after launching it, the WNBA announced there was no timeline for a conclusion. Why? Because they're not finding anything, not because there's nothing to find. Chicago assistant coach Ty Margenthaler, who previously worked with the Fever, made it clear he didn't hear anything inappropriate during the game. Fans in the arena backed him up. What some tried to spin as racist chants was actually a meme sound effect, like a popular audio clip often heard in NBA arenas, including the Pacers' own stadium. That's what sparked this entire controversy, a meme sound. So why is the league still investigating? According to Brennan's sources, they're essentially stalling, hoping a new controversy pops up before they're forced to admit this one was baseless. It's not about justice or truth. It's pure PR damage control. As one WNBA insider put it, they're trying to explain how in an era where everything is recorded, there's no video or audio to back these claims because nothing actually happened. But the damage is already done. Just the existence of the investigation has cast doubt on the Fever fan base, all while overshadowing a truly historic moment in women's basketball. There's a saying, it's not the evidence, it's the seriousness of the allegation. And by giving weight to these unproven Twitter claims, the WNBA effectively threw Clark, the Fever, and their supporters under the bus, just to cool down the buzz around her record-breaking night. Internally, some WNBA staffers are worried. One even told Brennan, there's real panic about Clark's popularity turning the league into a one-player show, but instead of embracing it to grow the game, there's resentment and this weird effort to downplay her success. And that leads to the big question, why? Why would a league that spent years fighting for attention and legitimacy try to bury the one athlete finally delivering it? The answers Christine Brennan uncovered are jaw-dropping. Let's start with this. There's growing anxiety within the WNBA about media favoritism and how it might be tipping the scales. Some league executives are reportedly worried that Caitlin Clark becoming the face of the league could push other stars and their loyal fan bases into the shadows. Sure, that argument might seem valid in theory, but in practice, it exposes a fundamental misunderstanding of how sports branding actually works. Every major league in history has had its icons, Jordan, LeBron, Brady, stars who elevated their sport, not divided it. According to journalist Christine Brennan, several high-ranking figures within the WNBA are uneasy with the evolving makeup of the league's fan base. The influx of new supporters brought in by Clark doesn't fit the mold they're used to. One insider told Brennan, instead of embracing these fresh fans as a growth opportunity, they're being viewed with skepticism. That might be the most shocking part of all this. After decades of pushing for mainstream relevance, media coverage, and financial stability, the WNBA finally has the spotlight, thanks largely to Clark's massive appeal. And some people in power see that as a problem instead of a blessing. Let's be real, Caitlin Clark isn't just popular. She's a phenomenon. Her games smash viewership records, tickets sell out, merch is flying off shelves, TV networks are in bidding wars for broadcast rights. This should be a moment of celebration for women's basketball. Instead, we're getting Twitter-fueled investigations and behind-the-scenes efforts to tone down her coverage. It's self-sabotage at the highest level. Brennan's reporting outlines exactly how this anti-Clark narrative has played out since day one. When she broke the all-time NCAA scoring record, internal league emails pushed to emphasize she'd played more games than past record holders, undermining her achievement instead of honoring it. When the WNBA draft hit record viewership numbers, the message focused on the overall class strength, not Clark's influence. And when she recorded her first triple-double in the league, becoming the fastest rookie ever to do it, the league's official social media initially highlighted a different player's stat line from the same game. Only after major backlash did they give Clark the credit she deserved. But the most alarming part of Brennan's reporting isn't about PR, it's about officiating. Multiple sources say there have been internal discussions about managing Clark's impact through the way games are called. A former WNBA ref even told Brennan, "I've never seen anything like it. Sure, stars usually get the benefit of the doubt. Rookies don't. That's standard. But I've never heard of an intentional plan to limit a specific player's effectiveness with officiating." That could explain a lot. Despite being the most fouled player in college basketball, Clark suddenly isn't getting the same calls in the pros. She's taking hits other guards wouldn't tolerate, and nothing's being called. The WNBA, of course, denies all of this. They issued a statement calling Brennan's report baseless and without merit. But here's the catch. They haven't actually responded to any of the specific claims, and they still haven't explained why an investigation was launched based solely on tweets, without a shred of solid evidence. The public reaction? Brutal. Across social media, fans are furious. Many are pointing out the blatant double standard. When online hate targets certain players, it gets ignored. Not but vague, anonymous accusations that happen to involve Clark. That gets full-blown league attention. Others say this fits a pattern. The WNBA WNBA keeps undermining its own progress. Every time the league sees a boost in viewers or gets momentum with new fans, someone in power seems to stir up controversy instead of capitalizing on the growth. And that's what's so frustrating. All of this drama overshadows what's actually happening on the court. This is the most exciting era in WNBA history. The talent is elite, the pace is faster, the scoring is higher, rookies are arriving more game ready than ever, and veterans are extending their careers with better training and recovery. And right in the center of it all is Caitlin Clark, not just evolving her game, but silencing the critics. Her defense has improved, her efficiency is up, she's still breaking records, still electrifying crowds, and still proving that she belongs. The question isn't why the WNBA has a rising star. The real question is, why are they so afraid of her success? Caitlin Clark's sophomore season has been nothing short of incredible, but instead of spotlighting her success, the WNBA seems more focused on finding ways to downplay it. Rather than using Clark's meteoric rise to boost the league's profile, it appears that some within the WNBA are actively trying to limit her influence. And that's not just a disservice to Clark, it's a loss for every player in the league. Because here's the truth, when Caitlin Clark draws millions of eyes to women's basketball, she doesn't overshadow the stars, she shines a light on them. Her presence brings in fans who then discover the brilliance of players like Aja Wilson, Brianna Stewart, Sabrina Ionescu, Angel Reese, Kelsey Plum, and so many more. These new fans aren't just watching Indiana Fever games, they're buying jerseys, following teams, and falling in love with the game itself, and the numbers back it up. WNBA viewership is up across the board, not just for the Fever. Engagement is surging on social media. League-wide merchandise sales are climbing. Clark isn't stealing the spotlight, she's expanding the entire stage. So why the resistance? According to Christine Brennan's reporting, it could all come down to control. For years, the WNBA existed in a smaller, more tightly managed space. Media coverage was limited, growth was slow and deliberate. The league had more control over the narrative and the pace of change. Then Caitlin Clark entered the picture, and suddenly everything changed. She brought a tidal wave of attention that couldn't be micromanaged or contained. And for some in leadership, that kind of explosive, unpredictable growth is uncomfortable. They preferred the old pace, steady, manageable, familiar. Clark represents something much bigger and more disruptive, and that scares people in power. This story is as old as time. In every industry, disruption is often met with resistance, even when it brings undeniable benefits. Remember how the music industry panicked over streaming, or how taxi companies fought against Uber and Lyft. Change threatens the status quo, but history shows that those who resist inevitable change usually get left behind. The WNBA has a once-in-a-generation opportunity right now. It can ride this wave, welcome new fans with open arms, and finally achieve the level of relevance and reach it's always deserved. But if Brennan's sources are right, there are people inside the league trying to pump the brakes. Not because growth is bad, but because it's not unfolding their way. And that's the real tragedy. The WNBA has spent years demanding more media coverage, more investment, and more attention. Now that it's finally arrived, delivered in large part by Clark, some seem determined to sabotage it simply because it doesn't fit their plan. Through it all, Clark has shown nothing but composure. When asked about the controversy and the non-stop noise surrounding her, she calmly responded, "I'm just focused on basketball. All I can control is how I play and how I treat people. Everything else is just noise." That kind of poise would be impressive from a 10-year veteran, let alone a 23-year-old in just her second season. Her teammates have had her back, too. Aaliyah Boston, the former number one pick and face of the Fever before Clark arrived, has welcomed her with open arms. When asked about the backlash Clark has faced, Boston said, "It's disappointing. We see how hard Caitlin works and how much she brings to the team and to the league. Anyone who cares about women's basketball should be cheering her on. And let's give credit to Chicago Sky coach Tyler Marsh as well. After his team got blown out by 35 points in Indiana, it would have been easy to feed into the viral narrative. But when asked about the alleged crowd misconduct that sparked online outrage, Marsh didn't play along. "I didn't hear anything inappropriate," he said. "Nothing racial, nothing over the line. Just a loud, passionate basketball crowd." That honesty stands in sharp contrast to the anonymous voices online who tried to manufacture a scandal. Marsh could have stayed quiet, or worse, supported the baseless claims. Instead, he chose truth over convenience. But maybe the most alarming part of Brennan's report? the All-Star Game. Indianapolis is scheduled to host the WNBA All-Star festivities this summer. You have a huge moment for the city, the team, and the fans. But Brennan's sources say there have already been serious conversations about moving the event, all because of unverified social media accusations stemming from that Fever versus Sky matchup. It's hard to wrap your head around. Instead of leaning into this historic moment for the league, some insiders appear more focused on damage control for problems that may not even exist. It's a self-inflicted wound, and one the WNBA can't afford. This league is on the brink of something incredible, but to get there, it has to stop fighting the future and start embracing it.